Hi, and you're welcome once again as we look into the claim in the Quran talking about the heavenly tablet and the problem of inconsistency. Yes, we want to look at critically analyze how consistent it is in regards to the heavenly tablet, in regards to the preserved Quran, in regards to the mother of the book, the Quran, which is supposed to be in paradise, preserved with Allah, according to Surah 85 of the Quran, verse 21 and 22, and Surah 43, verse 3 and 4 of the Quran. Now, Islam teaches that the Quran exists eternally in the preserved tablet of Allah, and therefore it is unchanged, and of course nothing has happened to it since it's perfect with Allah, and since supposedly Allah is perfect, all-knowing, omnipotent, omniscience. Therefore nobody could have tampered with Allah's word in the preserved tablet. In fact, Allah did say in Surah 18 of the Quran, verse 27, nobody can change the word of Allah. He did also confirm it again that the word of Allah cannot be changed, according to Surah 6, verse 115. Now, according to this, in line to that kind of thought, you can now see that, of course, this entails that there is no revision, no correction, no historical distance between heaven and earth, according to the teachings of that, because there should be no historical distance, since the copy is just there. They just pick it up from there, they copy it, and they give it down to Muhammad, and we here, boom, we have it in the hands of Muhammad as a heavily preserved tablet that was sent. But we are having issues with that. Should we have any inconsistency in that theory, there will be a problem for anybody who keep claiming that the Quran is preserved in a perfect tablet of Allah in paradise, and therefore it should be believed as it were. Now, if inconsistency exists in the earthly Quran, only two possibilities can remain. Because since we are told that the Quran is perfect and preserved in the tablet book of Allah, or in the preserved tablet in Allah's paradise, and that this one was just copied from there and sent down to us, like we see in the previous video, according to chapter 44 of the Quran, verse 3, it was sent down to mankind. According to also chapter 15, verse 3, it confirmed the same thing. Therefore, we can now say that should we see any inconsistency or anything in this Quran that we have here on earth, then it's only two theories that we can believe on. One of which is either the heavenly Quran actually contains inconsistency, or the earthly Quran no longer matches the heavenly original one. And that's just it. Because we can obviously see it from the Quran we have today. There are places where the author is swearing by Allah, and we have the author is also praise Allah. The author at the same time is saying in the name of Allah. The author of the same time is still saying that Allah should lead him in the right path. The author in the earthly Quran, at least, we are seeing so many things that shouldn't be said by Allah and shouldn't be found Allah saying, because He is supposed to be all-knowing, omnipotent, and can do and undo and all-wise. And therefore, He shouldn't be saying that he should be led on the right path. He shouldn't be saying that I swear in the name of Allah. He shouldn't be saying that I swear by the pen, and so many things like that. So based on this kind of inconsistency, which becomes a problem to both the earthly Quran and the heavenly Quran, because we either accept one. It is either the original Quran, which is supposed to be in heaven with Allah, it is also inconsistent like this one we have on earth, or this current Quran that we have on earth does no longer match with the heavenly one, and therefore it must have been corrupted, which the Muslim Ummah will not accept that. So either option destroy the doctrine of perfect preservation. Either way, that is just one. The other point is the fact that Islam's zero margin of error. They cannot tolerate or allow any form of scribal mistakes or textual evolution, editorial process, or even variant authorship as well. Not even talk of historical conditioning or even progressive revelation. Islamic theology would not accept, or teaching would not bear this. So Islam explicitly rejects explanations that other religious traditions can actually accept in that regard, like Christianity, we know that the Christians or the Bible was written by a number of people, and therefore we expect any kind of mistake, spelling error, kind of variance, and all of that few. So we pardon that because it is not a work done by God Himself; it's a man's work, and therefore the possibility of errors are there and cannot be excluded in that regard. However, the inspiration of the Bible and the authority of the Bible remains intact because God inspired men to write on His behalf, not Himself writing by Himself, and that is the difference. Now, these are standard tools in biblical standard or scholarship. We are all all are forbidden within Islamic theology, which I've just explained, to say by its own design, Islam grants itself zero margin of error. So there is no room for any mistake. And should there be anything like that, then it becomes a problem in the Islamic world. And that is why it's important for us. So this is very important for us to dive, because this discussion is very important because for us to understand comprehensively about the Islamic teaching, the Islamic claim, the Islamic dilemma, and many other things, we need to understand the concept, the originality, the transmission, the perfection, and all the ideas that has to do with the coming of the Quran itself. This has given us a premise going forward, how to focus, how to view the Quran. We will have it in mind that the Quran was said to have come from Allah, word for word, and it is preserved by Allah because it is the copy of the original from Allah to Muhammad, directly down to mankind. And of course, the Quran is even challenging anybody that is thinking otherwise about trying to see or find any contradiction. It will mean that the person do not understand the Quran very well, because the Quran must have come from Allah, and therefore is final, perfect, and okay for mankind. So this is why we set up this couple of videos for us to set as a standard, as a premise, so as to understand the subsequent discussion like we follow on. Thank you very much. Till we meet again. Bye for now.